Yeah,
But you're
it's
right.
awesome to see interviews with guest stars and actors that did cameos, if even in one episode. Because this show, X Files, had so many guest stars of like a higher caliber nature where you're like, oh my God, Seth Green. Oh, like all these different people. You're like, yeah, I became a fanboy too. So I was so proud when I got on the show.
How did you prepare for this role? Like coming into it, how did you prepare? You knew it was like high action, all kinds of gear, and like what was your thought going into it?
So I got the audition. I was already a fanboy. I think I've grown up with a conspiracy brain. Uh, and, there's some other stories that I tell on my YouTube channel, but I kind of thought I've been abducted. I have 3 dots that on the back of my neck that my doctors couldn't explain. And I've had visions throughout my life. So I kind of like, I've always been in that type of a world. So when the X Files came out, I felt drawn to it and I watched every episode. And I believe it was like the seventh season that I was on or whatever. So I was already a huge fanboy. So I got the audition and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got an audition for the X Files. Like it was like major to me. Then I'm like, okay, I need the script. So I finally get the script. There was no acting. It was like action based. It's me yelling and screaming and running around and doing all these military type procedures. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't get to act. But how can I make this audition memorable? So, like, I had 3 lines, and it was something like, strike left, strike right, go hard, I'm gonna kill everybody was my line or something like that. So there wasn't much to it. And right around that time, I shaved my head, kind of like I do now. So I had kind of a meaner look. So I go to Rich Milliken's office, and there's always a lot of actors doing the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And you kind of have to peacock sometimes because there's a lot of good quality actors. And I'm like, how can I get their attention with this, with basically no lines? So I decided to go in completely military esque. I wore like a camouflage shirt and some shorts that I had, and I put like black face paint underneath my eyes. So I get to the audition. I'm sitting in the room with the other actors, and then all of a sudden they're like, Michael, we're going to come out and get you. You're going to be the next person. I'm like, okay. Luckily, this was a meeting with the first audition because I guess my name was a little bit above other actors at that time. There's like a list where they bring in, more veteran actors. So I was automatically going in to see Rick Milliken, Chris Carter, and the director of the episode or the writer or another writer. I don't remember really who was in there, but there was 3 people in the room. Chris Carter was one, Rick Milliken was the other, and then there was another gentleman in the room. So right when they said, Michael, go ahead, I ran and I waited for the casting director to walk in the room because they had their assistant bring me in. But then I slammed the door. Where are we going? What's going on? I just started yelling and screaming. And then I immediately got to the center and they were all 3 sitting like on a couch or like these chairs on a couch. And then I'm like, all right, are you guys ready? All right, are you ready? And then I ran behind the couch where Chris Carter and Rick Milliken are kind of standing. And I'm like, all right, you go here, you go there, flank right, flank left. And then I ran to the front of the couch. And they were literally, I got them off of the couch and I told them, come here, crouch down, crouch down. And I got Rick Milliken and Chris Carter to crouch down, like next to me. And then I said, like, let's do this, let's do that. And then I went to the front of the couch and then they finally sat back down. Then I did the scene where I get shot and I die and and that was it. But I literally went in there like gangbusters and I had them all involved in the scene. And you're told not to touch casting directors, producers, writers. You're told not to go close to them. You're told not to get in their space. But I'm like, screw it. I'm a war character and I love this show and I'm going to peacock. I'm going to do something that nobody else is probably going to do in this audition. And I'm going to show that I want it. So I left the audition. I get home. about an hour and a half later off the 405. Because his offices were like at 20th Century Fox in a little bungalow. And I get home, and then a couple hours later, my agent calls me and, Michael, you got the job. It worked. It worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love those stories. Like nowadays, in my old age, I have to live off my memories and, these amazing moments in my life. And X-Files is definitely one of them.
That's great. That's quite the story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
No worries.
So you had mentioned that you were a fan of the show. You land the role. What's your first day like? Were you nervous? What was it like for you?
Controversial.
How so?
Okay, so I was a huge fanboy, and I started to film. I bought a camera, like a little digital tape camera, and I started to film things. Well, I think MySpace or something was around that time, and I started to film like these vlogs. And I asked the producers and everybody if I could bring a camera, and not try to film anybody unless I get their permission. But I wanted to film my experience in the trailer room, maybe walking around the set when they're not filming and stuff like that. And I was granted permission. This, I was told, was directly from Chris Carter. Do not film anybody. And if, ask them before, if you're going to do anything, interview them or whatever, you have to ask them. And it cannot be aired on a vlog or a website or anything until like after the show is aired for many months. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, I didn't even know what I was going to do with it. I just noted I wanted to start filming my life. So I get to the set, get in my trailer, and I filmed the trailer. Then I saw the other trailers while I got my little trailer. So I decided, okay, I'm going to give a tour real quick of all the trailers and explain to a possible future audience what these trailers do. So then I say, hey, this is my trailer where I get dressed and I hang out, read my script before they film. And then I started walking down the street, and I had the light on because it's nighttime. We're in downtown LA where they filmed Fast and the Furious. We're like in between these buildings. And then, so I'm walking by the makeup trailer. Then the door opens up, and I'm saying, hey, this is the makeup trailer where they're going to make me look beautiful. And I'm just walking by it like this. And then the door opens up, and David Duchovny's sitting in the chair, and there's a mirror in front of him. So when they open up the door for somebody to come out, David's sitting in the chair, getting done up, and there's a mirror, and then they see a light. Now, David Duchovny gets pissed off and thinks paparazzi or somebody is there, calls security. Him or the makeup people call security. And then all of a sudden, I'm escorted out about 10 minutes later. And I'm like, I'm starring in the episode. Call Chris Carter. Call Chris Carter. And they're like, no, you're paparazzi. Who are you? Give us your ID. You were filming David Duchovny. I'm like, I didn't film him. I was filming the trailer. And then finally, about 10 minutes later, a PA or somebody gets a hold of Chris Carter, and he literally comes down from his little trailer office, wherever. And he's like, Michael, what the hell's going on? They said that you were filming David Duchovny. I go, I wasn't. I promise. Look at the tape. Look at the tape. And then he sees the tape, and the door opens up, and David's in there. And he's like, Michael, like, I don't think I can let you film anymore moving forward because it created a controversy. He goes, I know you didn't film David Duchovny. That was not your purpose, but, we can't do it anymore. I'm like, no problem, Chris. I'm still a fan, though, truthfully. But it started out with a little bit of controversy. And then we also, before I filmed the episode, I should have mentioned this, I had to go through gun training. They booked me, and I took one of my best friends, my friend with me, and they allowed it. And we had to do like gun training because we were shooting these guns. So I went somewhere in the San Fernando Valley, and right around that time was Brandon Lee's death. I mean, you guys can look up the dates, but it was somewhere around that as well, maybe 5 months earlier. I don't know. But the gun safety on the set of the X-Files was like out of control, meaning they had like 4 people in the gun department, and then they were showing me, blank bullets. These are how they look. These are this, do this, do that. And when you guys are shooting the blanks, nobody can be on set. They were kicking everybody out. There was nobody in front of us, nobody behind us. It was pretty intense because I've never experienced something like that being a comedic actor. I had a chance to work with guns, run around. I mean, we had characters dressed as Nazis, like in the buildings above us, shooting down on us. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I got to see Maitreya get dressed.
Where was the original stuff filmed?
Yeah, I don't know the exact location. I think it might be somewhere near a place called Fifth and Spring. Don't quote me on that. But if you look online, just write the building in the first Fast and Furious movie. Building. They sprayed it down with water. Then they had the motorcycles in the X-Files episode come out. And it was that exact building. I think it's Fifth and Spring, somewhere around there. But it was really, really cool to be getting paid a few thousand, well, more than a couple of $1,000s, but to be in the middle of downtown LA at midnight, shooting guns with half-naked women. What an adventure for me.
Well, it sounds like it was a good experience for you.
Yeah, it was. Very memorable. Very memorable.
That's cool. Now, you had touched upon working with Chris Carter. Would you do that again? Was he a cool guy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I loved the new X-Files that came out maybe about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where they redid it again and they had the drones and the smart houses or buildings. It was a good series, the way they kind of wrapped it all up, I enjoyed it, and I wish there was more, but maybe you guys know why they didn't do anymore. I don't know.
Why do you think, in your opinion, why do you think the X-Files has kind of stood the test of time?
Everybody's into horror and scary things. I mean, that's why there's a new horror film every month. Like the unexplained and the mysterious is like ingrained in human DNA or culture. And the truth is out there. But the truth is, this world is not how they tell us. And there's a lot of hidden things. And that's why the X-Files creeps at the core of every individual that watches it. Because when they had the monster stories and then they had the long-running actual theme of the show, it hits a note for everybody. So you can find an audience through every single person, depending on what episode you watch. That's why the X-Files is just so amazing. And it's got a cool name. I mean, the X-Files. It feeds something that we're all looking for in different stories. But on top of that, you had somebody who was passionate that made it as a Chris Carter. And mainstream doesn't normally accept these type of questions or ideas, whether it be the government, conspiracies, technology, monsters, it's not normally accepted. So Chris Carter was sort of like a bridge to the beginning of the world that we're actually living in now, where like 50 or 60% of the people question everything. And the X-Files started the questioning every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on Fox or whenever they aired it, So I think that's why it's relevant. It hits all of us somewhere. I'm trying to remember where I put them, but I don't know if I should tell you because I know the X-Files people are going to be watching, but I stole some stuff from the set of the X-Files.
What'd you take?
All right, Chris, don't hate me, Chris. Or Rick Milliken, don't hate me. I don't know if they might be in the box because I moved to this apartment a couple of years ago and I haven't moved anything out. But I took bullets, the blanks that landed in the area. I took like 20 or 30 of them. And Lord knows I need money sometimes. I'm going to have to try to sell them on eBay or something. But when we were at 20th Century Fox, I had to do ADR there as well. I had to do ADR at 20th Century Fox as well. But they had the actual Mulder office with the poster that says like the truth is out there. And I believe it's the pilot. He throws a pencil to the roof and it sticks. Well, they had a partial roof with a pencil when I snuck into that stage or that set, and he had pencils at the desk. So I looked around, made sure nobody was there, took one of the pencils off of the desk, got on the chair, and took the pencil that was stuck in the little roof piece that they had right there for his office. I don't know if that's the original one from the pilot or the first episode. I don't know. But I took it and I got a number 2 that is worth number 1 from the set of the X-Files. Sorry, Chris. I'm sorry, Chris. I know. What a great adventure. But yeah, I got on a bunch of sci-fi shows around that time. And I'll be honest, I think the Rick Milliken casting of me in X-Files and working with Chris Carter put me on the radar, because casting directors and directors talk to other people. And Fox loved me. Like Fox, I did so many projects with Fox Studios. And then right after that, I got a big episode in James Cameron Dark Angel. So the X-Files led to some really good moments and parts in my career and put me on the radar for like movies like Evolution with David Duchovny and stuff like that in the future. So like X-Files is a catalyst, in my opinion, in my career. I believe it is. Even a small part like that I had.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about Evolution?
Yeah.
I can see Lauren's face just slowly getting, or her smile slowly getting. We both love that movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But real quickly, just to bring it back to the X-Files, I had to do action scenes and I had to fall down, and they didn't have a stunt coordinator, or maybe they did, but I just maybe shunned them off. But I had to fall down, and I'm pretty much a 300-pound gentleman that has no athletic skills at all. So while we were there that night and we were about to film the scenes where I get shot and I'm on the ground, I have to rehearse my fall because I don't want to get injured, because I don't know how to fall. I'm not a stunt person. So while we were having dinner or lunch or whatever they called it in the middle of the night, I just came up with my own move, like left foot, right foot turn, fall on my knees, shake. And then I did that like over and over again so I wouldn't injure myself when we came to film it. And I do believe one of the stunt coordinators came up to me while I was doing that, and it's like, hey, do you want me to show you a move? I'll show you after lunch or dinner. I'm like, no, I'm coming up with my own thing. I know my body. I know how I have to move my body. So hopefully we can get on the same page. But I do remember it might have been Chris Carter or some of the producers walking back to the set to get ready to shoot. And I'm still there in a little corner doing my move. And I became a professional actor at that moment, because they're watching me going, this guy's dedicated. He could be eating food at the commissary or where everybody else is eating, and he's sitting here rehearsing to make our episode better. So I think that went a long way of them talking to other casting directors or other people. Hey, this guy Michael Bauer is pretty good. He's very veteran. He's very oriented, and he's like a veteran. He'll give you a good product if you hire him. So I believe that went a long way. But my audition process for Evolution was a little intense. And I blew another actor's ear out in the process because I knew what Ivan Reitman wanted for Evolution. And he thought of me as Bluto, because I'm a big Animal House fan. I'm a big Belushi fan, and I'm a fat actor. So we're like kind of like the Chris Farley-esque. We're like the big, like they love that. And I knew what Ivan Reitman wanted. So I did like 2 or 3 auditions early with Marjorie Simpkin for Evolution, and she liked me. So she eventually brought me to Ivan Reitman, where he's in the room. And then, they liked what I had to do, and they didn't know what the 2 brothers on Evolution were supposed to be, whether we were going to be stoners or idiot, crazy brothers or loud. Like, they were just bringing in a bunch of actors to see. And I gave them the Bluto character, Toga, because I knew that would have felt a place in Ivan Reitman's heart, is, to have a reference of Animal House in evolution. So I brought in that character. So when we were doing our scenes, oh, the world's ending, let's go, like getting drunk, whatever we did in evolution. And then we had a mix and match session where other actors were going to come in and we were going to go in and do the scene together. So I went in with this one actor and he was playing it very quiet, very low key. But it's the end of the world. We're like at a party scene drinking beer. And we're talking about the end of the world. And this guy's like, yeah, man, it's the end of the world. And I'm like, that shit ain't funny, man. That ain't funny. That stoner character, it ain't going to work. And if you're going to have a stoner character, you got to have two of them. You can't have one loud and one quiet. It just doesn't work. You want each other to feed off the other. So what we did the scene, and then Ivan Reitman, or the casting director, Marjorie, comes back and says, all right, tells the other actor, hey, can you come back in again, but can you bring it up a little bit to the other actor, not to me? And I told him, I go, man, come on, get your shit together. This is Ivan Reitman. This is the end of the world. So I start shaking him and grabbing him. I'm like, let's get your energy going. And then we went in, a few minutes later again. And then we start doing the scene and he's doing the same thing. And then now I grab him again. Come on. And I start screaming in his ear, let's go. The world's dying. I'm going to party like it's 1999. Apparently, I busted his eardrum yelling in his ear. So after the audition, he goes to the doctor. And then I think the production got notice of it. They had to pay for his surgeries or doctors or whatever. And then my agent got a message, Michael, they love you. You can't do that again. You caused them some turmoil. They're bringing you in again, but you can't do what you did again. They want you to be less, Michael. Then I started to think about it. I go, wait a second. This is my 4th or 5th audition now. Now they want me to be less? They brought me in 5 times. I'm doing the same shit. Why am I going to change it? They like me enough to bring me back 5 freaking times. This is Ivan Reitman. I know he loves this character. I'm uncontrollable. He loves it. Anything can happen on the set. He's going to love it. It's like improv. It's great. So I get to pretty much that final audition. And I walk in and they're like, hey, Michael, did your agent give you the note? And I'm like, yeah. And I ain't changing a goddamn thing. I said that right in front of Ivan and Tom Pollock and whoever else is in there. So I did it. Then a couple of weeks went by. And I'm like, normally I get the part pretty close. But I figured they were searching in New York and other places. And then I was like, man, ain't nothing happening. Then around this time, I heard Elijah Wood filmed an audition for Lord of the Rings, like in Griffith Park or somewhere out here. And I was like, wow. Then I called my agent. Why are they not? Have you gotten any feedback? And then my agent tells me, actually, Mike, we did. They said they don't know if you're just crazy, insane, or funny. I said, okay. So then when I heard that feedback, I go, I get it now. Now I understand what they want me to temper down. So then I decided to show them that I'm funny, not just insane funny. I'm funny. So because of that Elijah Wood thought that was in my head about Lord of the Rings, I took a camera, stayed up all night, and then I had the scripts and I played every character. I wore different clothing. I played what's her name? The redheaded girl, Juliana Moore's character, David Duchovny's character, Ethan Suplee's character, Sean William Scott's character, Orlando Jones' character. I wore an outfit for each one. I did my own different voice. And then I did all of that and I filmed the scene and I edited it to where you get the normal characters and the funny character of Orlando Jones, then the girl character coming out of the truck. Then you get the crazy Danny Donald that I'm being, and it worked. And so I sent that tape the next morning, via transcript or whatever, to their offices. And then 2 days later, I got the job. So that means they watched it and they go, it works. that insaneness works when based off of when you see the other characters that are more quiet and subdued. It kind of works. It adds a little bit, but of course I was a little bit less. I wasn't, but it worked. And I was so proud to get that job. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working with Ivan Reitman, Stripes, blah, blah, blah. So I go to the read through and we're all settling in at DreamWorks. I mean, oh my God, I'm at DreamWorks, SKG. We're supposed to be like the third film from DreamWorks, $100 million budget. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hit the big time. Spielberg, DreamWorks, Ivan Reitman. I told you I'm a fan. I'm one of those. And then this is just off of X-Files, maybe 8 months earlier. I'm not exactly sure the timing, but I go to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, David Duchovny's in the bathroom stall, turns to me and he goes, "How you doing, Dave?" He goes, "Hey." We never really met technically on X-Files, but he knew who I was because, they kicked me out or whatever. He's like, "Hey, you're in this?" I go, "Yeah, I'm in the whole damn thing. I hope you don't kick me out this time." And then I just walked away. I'm sort of a bitch sometimes, or a brat, whatever you want to call it. And then we sat down, and then we sat at the table. We had our names for the read through, and out of nowhere, "Oh, he'll be here in 5 minutes. Can you guys wait?" We're like, "Ivan's here. Who are we waiting for?" Spielberg walks in, steps to the front of the table or whatever, shakes everybody's hand. And I had an interaction with Spielberg earlier that maybe it'll make sense. Long story short, one day I was driving at Universal Studios on Lancashire. I was making a left turn, and then I looked to the right of me. There's a car there with the window open, and we're right by Universal Studios, which is right by Amblin and all that other stuff. And I looked to the car to the right of me. The window was open, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Spielberg. What moment is this that I'm looking in my car to the right and Spielberg has his window open in a Jeep? He was driving like a Wrangler, like from Jurassic Park or something. I don't know. But and I'm like, that's Spielberg. And then I'm waiting for the sign to turn left so I can make a left turn. Then I immediately turn back. I go, I'm going to work with you one day. And then in my mind, I see him through the rear view when I'm making a left going, I don't know if that's real or not. That might just be my fantasy. But he comes into the Evolution read through and he's starting to shake everybody's hand. And then he shakes my hand before he talks and he goes, "You kept your word." Are you kidding me? Wow. I'm telling you, that's how I feel about my life and my acting. People are like, these stories ain't real. I'm like, whatever. I don't need to prove nothing to nobody. So he's like, "You kept your word." Maybe he was involved in the casting process, looked at who the actors were, remembered me from that moment on Lancashire Boulevard. I don't know. Such cool moments in my life of like pop culture. I just love it. I love my life.
Production is so much fun.
That's great.
It is. I mean, it's all we have sometimes, like content is life. Like now that I look about it, like these are millions upon millions of people's dreams. And then I've had the opportunity to have these dreams kind of happen. So I can't take that for granted, like it's such a blessing. But the sad part is for actors, and I don't want to say former actors, but we might not ever be able to live up to the hype that we had at any certain given moment in our life. And we may never have that again. But now we're questioned daily. Oh, are you acting? What's going on? What's wrong? Are you ever going to be famous again? And that really, if all actors have egos, I don't care who you are, that's why you become an actor. You want a little bit of that fame and fortune, but it's really, really hurtful to the ego when you have to humble yourself and tell yourself, I may not ever, ever work on a major project again. I may have to do YouTube videos the rest of my life to earn an income. I may have to live off my memories. I may have to live off nostalgia. I may have to live off conventions. And when you want to be an entertainer your entire life, it's really like a gut punch to think about that. but I'm okay. Like, I don't know what the future holds. I'm still, doing auditions here and there. I'm doing my best within my health, my parameters. I don't know if I'll ever be on a major stream TV show or movie, or I'll ever be a star of a movie, but I'm okay with it. Like, you got to humble yourself and say, I've had those experiences, so I'm okay. But I want more. I want more, but I'm okay.
The love for it drives you. So we understand greatly.
Yeah. And I can't imagine putting your regular life on hold to do this all the time and have it go, what, 8 years?
Oh, almost.
Yeah.
Since 2018. So, yeah.
Yeah.
7 years.
Before my daughter was born.
What was the ultimate goal, though? You get it, like the one thing, like, I want to make a documentary, or I want to do interviews on YouTube. Like, what was your ultimate goal for this project?
I think the goal was to capture the history of the show that we love so much, the show that brings us so much comfort, and just hear about the impact that it had not only on pop culture, but also to its fans and the folks who worked on it. And, it's such a wonderful, joyous project to work on because all of these stories we get to hear are always so positive and fun. And, that's why we keep it going. And we post our interviews on YouTube. I'd say most of them are on YouTube for people to enjoy and hear. And it's just been a lot of fun.
And I'm sure I've seen a lot of it, but has mostly the cast, crew, whoever, have they accepted you completely?
The majority of, yes, we've been lucky in that it's been an incredibly positive experience. We've interviewed the majority of the main cast. We've interviewed a good chunk of the main writers, editors. We've interviewed Chris several times. Once the word got out, it kind of spread. Started it for the 25th. And then
for the 25th.
It kind of grew and grew and grew and grew. We're like, well, we're not going to finish this for the 25th. So we ended up, our first cut was for the 30th.
But as a gift for being on this podcast, I'm going to open up my box wherever I have I think I have like 20 bullets. Maybe I'll send each one of you one, just because it was actually from the show.
That's awesome.
That's very sweet of you.
It's not a real bullet. It's like what do they call them?
The squib. It's
not a squib, but like fake bullet where they take out the bullet or whatever.
Yeah, blank. I have one from, it's a blank. Yeah, I have one from ER when we shot up the ER scene. I stole it too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, these are going to be from my episode, so you
can
maybe put a little plaque from that episode.
I know I have to label them, right?
A couple of themes on this call. This is outrageous.
So, Mike, the last question we asked to everybody, and we love also hearing the answers to this. If you had a message that you could give to the fans of the X-Files from the last now 32 years, what would it be?
The truth is not only out there, the truth in real life is honestly being revealed.
That's awesome.
That's great. Michael, thank you so much for taking some time and sharing your stories with us today.
No, thank you guys. And like I said, if you look at real life, a lot of the X-Files episodes, that controversial type stuff that they were talking about, like, it's happening. Like, it's actually becoming more mainstream. So the X-Files shed a light on something that was in the dark, and now it's into the light. So the X-Files is like one of those shows that in the future, to be quite honest with you, if they did have aliens on another planet, or the human race went to another planet and we found like a reservoir of tapes, they're going to be like, oh, that's how Earth was. Like, it's one of those shows that it's real life. Like, it's what's happening show. I can't explain it any better than that, but you understand what I'm saying. X-Files is freaking awesome. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even show it to you guys because my camera's attached to my thing, but they sent me because we were a video game in the X-Files called First Person Shooter from the Lone Gunman. That's so awesome. And they predicted 9/11 in the first episode of the Lone Gunman. Like, what an amazing thing. But we had like these advertisements for the video game in the episode of X-Files. So they had these like banners and posters with me and the other two kids holding our army suits and stuff like that. And it says like first person shooter. So they printed, I think, like 3 or 4 or 5 of them for the show when they were filming. So they took pictures of us in our outfit before, so they could print the posters and stuff. So after we were done filming, because Chris Carter is so awesome or whatever, he sent all of us kids like the poster, the cardboard poster, the big one. It's like 5 feet or 4 feet, whatever. And I have it over here on my wall. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you guys right now, but he sent it to me. But the delivery service put it like on the top of a truck or something like that. They didn't cover it up, and it was raining. So my ink had streaks like on our face and everything. So when I got it, I didn't want to bother them, but I'm like, what an amazing gift to give me. I called up Fox and Chris Carter and them, and I go, hey, look, it's got ink. They printed another one and had it more professionally delivered. And I've had it to this day. It goes wherever I go. It's on my wall. And like, what an amazing artifact that I have from the thing. I'll send you guys a picture on Instagram after to show it to you guys. But yeah, like I said, it's so weird how having such a small role had such an impact in my life throughout and in many other jobs. And the belief that Chris Carter, Rick Milliken, and everybody had in me, like, it's just one of my favorite jobs in life.
Wow, that's really touching. Thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you for listening. I talk a lot.
No, of course. Our pleasure. We're excited to chat with you today, hear your memories about it. That's so cool.
And are you kidding? You on Nickelodeon is one of my favorite memories as a kid.
Yeah.
We were speaking, I was like, no.
How young are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
We're not that young. We're in our 40s.
Well, that's why I say, how young are you? I don't like the other word. The other word. Word.
I'm 41. I'm going to be 42.
I'm 40. I'll be 41 in a couple weeks, but you're talking to two 90s kids. So,
90s.
yeah.
You guys are babies. I'm 49. I'm turning 50 in a month.
Come on. So you're not that much older than you were a kid, too.
Yeah.
I will say that my husband and I are still terrified of Zeke the plumber. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, my God. Yes.
It didn't do nothing for me. You know what scares me is real life.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Any of that horror stuff, I'm not a big fan of horror.
No?
I didn't really like the monster episodes that much on X-Files. I was more a fan of the alien stuff because, like I said, I've had visions in my life, and again, I don't want to say it without people calling me crazy, but like,
Not crazy.
I kind of think I might have been abducted, whether it be in my brain, through energy, through spirit, or something, because I've had a lot of things happen to me growing up that are kind of unexplainable and very mysterious and weird. And I've had visions of aliens, the Greys, my entire life, even before I watched TV shows and movies. I used to do drawings to my dad and my mom saying, somebody was in my room, and I would paint a semi-gray picture. And before I even went to church, I was explaining how Jesus talks to me. And then I drew a drawing and I said the long hair and the this and that. And they're like, where are you getting this from? I wasn't going to church. I really wasn't watching materials that I can remember of about this stuff. So they were really freaked out. And then one day I went into the hospital. I had a lot of problems on me. I shouldn't have been born. I had a lot of issues. I'm a miracle baby. But then they found these like dots on the back of my head. And it's like 2 dots in a line. And the doctor has my records of all my surgeries. When I was born, I had a lot of surgeries and stuff. And nothing on the base of my skull. And they are like, what is this? So I'm not saying that they are abductions or whatever, but I have a brain that is a lot of things going on. So I think that's another reason why I'm really drawn to the X-Files, because now I like looking at things that are not reality or that it's possibly behind reality because they don't talk about it. Like I said, so I don't know. I love the X Files. Is all I can say. It's pretty fantastic. I'm gonna go on a binge run now that we talked. I'm gonna start watching all the episodes again because you came up with the titles out of nowhere, and I'm like, you even know the titles. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Carly. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, Michael.
And keep the history and the lore of the X Files going as best as possible through your own real, time. And people might not tell you, but you're very appreciated.
Oh, thank you. It's very
Yeah.
kind.
Thank
As are
you.
you. Thank you,
Get some
Michael.
rest.